This is Rostra, the St. Theodore Guerin Junior Classical League podcast, where we bring the lessons of classical study into the light for the benefit of all.
Welcome back to Rostra. We've got Annabelle Bremer with us today with a topic that, what I can say, is near and dear to my heart. Start off, tell us what your topic is.
My topic is Greek and Roman influence on English literature.
On English literature. And I got to say, as we were just saying before we started the recording, I love Greek and Roman stuff, obviously, as a Latin teacher, but I love English literature as well. And so it's neat to see the overlap there. First of all, what prompted you to pick that topic?
Well, in middle school and in high school, I always enjoyed reading, and in middle school, I was known for doing so well in Latin and Greek roots. And so when I saw this topic, I was like, whoa, this is a really interesting topic, and I'm pretty good at this. So yes, I want to do a Rostra episode on it.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Picking stuff that you are interested in, honestly, all the way through college, and then even depending on what kind of job you have, if you can always find a way to tie stuff into stuff that you are already passionate about, that makes for the best work, it makes for the best research, it makes for the best Rostra episode in this case. So launch in there. In fact, we could have an entire course on the influence of Greco-Roman stuff on English literature, but so we don't have an entire course worth of time. So just launch in there, tell us what you got.
Well, I do wish we did have an entire course about Roman influence on English literature, but a lot of you may know, but 60% of English words have some kind of Latin and Greek roots to it. And then some phrases right now are often used in English from Old Latin phrases like carpe diem, per se, and other examples too. And yeah, there's 60% of English words have Greek roots in them, of course. An example of them are could be.
Well, you just mentioned the carpe diem.
Yeah.
And I kind of know a little bit of where you're going to go here. So stay with that for just a moment, though. You've just got word influences.
Yeah.
Right. So really, quite frankly, anything written in English, your grocery list has been influenced by the Greeks and Romans because of just English words. So you're right. You got phrases. You got your carpe diem. You've got post hoc ergo propter hoc is a phrase that comes into English. Things like this, de jure, de facto, certain phrases that pop in. But then you've also got derivatives. All right. So you think about that, and so words that are similar, not exactly the same, but similar. Right, so you think an aqueous solution is one that has a lot of water in it because aqueous related to water. So you got the linguistic influence. So there's that. But I think there's more. What other, besides direct linguistic influences, what other kind of influences of the Greeks and Romans on literature?
Well, the Renaissance people like John Locke. Well, I'm not sure if that's Renaissance, but John Locke, Thomas Hobbes, he used Latin and Greek roots as well, but he also used Plato's, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Plato.
Yeah,
right.
Plato. Thomas Hobbes and John Locke used Plato's influence in multiple essays.
Yep.
Because they admired Plato so much that, I should probably use this for my philosophy, because John Locke and Thomas Hobbes were really wonderful philosophers, and they're still known today.
So you've got the linguistic influence with word roots and that kind of stuff. Then you've got what you're talking about with these guys and so many others, basing their ideas off of the ancient thinkers, especially Plato and Aristotle and Cicero and guys like this. And certainly you have the founding fathers of the United States and our government documents. And so core ideas have been influenced by the Greek and Roman writers.
Yes.
So you got the linguistic thing, you got ideas. What else?
Well, of course, Plato's ideas are actually used today when it comes to political novels and essays. Plato's work Republic and Aristotle's Politics are used almost all the time in like political novels, and you could probably see them used today. I can't think of a specific answer because I don't really focus on politics that much, but based on the research I did, they're used in almost every single political essay today.
And I think you make a good point. You mentioned novels, but also essays, because literature takes in both fiction and nonfiction.
Yeah.
And so absolutely. So you got those kinds of influences. And let me say, at least you should, because they are such solid thinkers and so serious thinkers today, are writing articles and books, fiction and nonfiction, that draw on those ideas. Now, I know I shouldn't be doing this. I couldn't help glancing at some of your notes, and my eye wandered over, and I saw a name written on one of your pages, a name that begins with J.K., and so I'm wondering if you're going to talk to us about some influences there.
Of course. Well, I think all of you know J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter. She actually uses Latin words based on spells in Harry Potter. Lumos, which is the spell that casts for lights, that's based off the Latin word for light. And expecto patronum is a Latin phrase for I await a protector. There are more spells, but I have a really bad time pronouncing them. But majority of her spells used in Harry Potter are based off Latin and Greek words or Latin phrases.
And so, we were talking about the linguistic thing, and I'm going to take what you're saying here as a different, even a third category. So you got the straight-up linguistic stuff. You got the influence of ideas, like you said, Plato and Aristotle and these guys on the political stuff. Then you've got people like J.K. Rowling, who are really just bringing in aspects of the world of Greece and Rome to create these fantasy worlds. And while you don't explicitly have Latin and Greek in, say, Lord of the Rings stuff, you wouldn't have Lord of the Rings were it not for the Greek and Roman myths. So much of that is foundational to the structure of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And you were talking about reading earlier in your life. Did you ever read any of the Percy Jackson stuff?
Yes, I did. It's been a while, but I have read a few.
And that stuff, my goodness, is completely based on especially the Greek mythology and bringing that into the modern world. So you have those tremendous influences to where you wouldn't have this kind of literature today. Now, let me ask you this. So you're studying some Latin now. Mm-hmm. Anybody could read Harry Potter. Anybody could read John Locke and not have a background in Latin and Greek stuff. You could just read their stuff in English and get value and get meaning out of it. But do you think that you get any deeper or different kind of appreciation for those things because of your studies of Latin and history and mythology?
Yeah. Well, if Plato didn't make the amount of essays he wrote, we probably would be a little off track. And I feel like John Locke, Thomas Hobbes, all those other people we study today, I feel like I'm sure they would have done a great job, but they wouldn't have any ideas based on someone, because sometimes ideas are based off people. Not everybody has a fresh idea, but with Thomas Hobbes and John Locke, for example, if we didn't have Plato or all the other people from ancient Rome, ancient Greece to build off those ideas, then I feel like humanity could be a little bit off track.
Oh, I think that could be a whole class as well, just discussing that. But I think you're right. And I also think that, as you said, not everybody has a completely fresh idea, but you take an idea and then you twist it, you turn it, you adapt it, you do something new with it, but you work with that fundamental kind of ingredient from the past. So tremendously important. So good stuff. Anything else you want to make sure you say? Like I say, I wish we had a full class on this, but anything else you want to make sure listeners know about the influence of the ancient world on English literature?
Well, a lot of people may know this, but William Shakespeare used a lot of Latin ideas in his stories.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you're in any English class right now, you might be reading any work by William Shakespeare. One of his quotes he would use is like "Et tu, Brutus."
Oh, yeah.
Other phrases. I didn't do a whole lot of research on this, but I kind of just knew this from reading Twelfth Night this year. I'm a sophomore currently, and we also studied The Tempest as well, and The Tempest especially had like Latin and Greek phrases and based off.
And not only the Latin and Greek phrases that you mentioned, but also Shakespeare just used ancient stories. You mentioned the phrase "et tu, Brute." Well, that's in his play Julius Caesar. Mm-hmm. So not only is that expression of Latin in there, but the story itself is from Roman history. And he did this with others as well. You've got the play Antony and Cleopatra. You've got Titus Andronicus. You've got multiple stories that he wrote. Even Romeo and Juliet is based on the myth of Pyramus and Thisbe, which goes back to the Roman poet Ovid. So yeah, you got those kinds of influences as well. Annabelle, thank you so much. This is wonderful, and hopefully it'll inspire some people to relook at some of their English reading.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Rostra. You may check out all our episodes on Spotify and follow us on social media at GuerinJCL. That's at GuerinJCL.